breaths to let yourself just arrive and settle down onto your back. Oh. Start to feel the support of the ground underneath you. And feel that sturdiness of the ground. Sometimes it's nice to have that sort of feeling of something sturdy and strong just supporting you and holding you up. So let yourself feel that. And just as you start to breathe and connect with yourself again, and notice how much of your body is touching the ground. And with each breath, maybe you start to notice a little bit more of your body connecting with the ground. And as you start to feel more of your body being touched by the supporting ground, maybe you can start to notice and be more aware of more of your body. Maybe you notice the different sensations that you're experiencing right now. What are you hearing? And then try to bring that sensation of your hearing into the room that you're in, or maybe even closer into just the area of your mat, or maybe even just to the area of your body, your physical body. What are you hearing? And what are you feeling? What are you feeling as your breath moves? What are you feeling as your body's connected to the ground? What do your hands feel wherever they're touching and landing? Just what are you feeling? And maybe not just what you're feeling externally, but also notice what you're feeling internally. Maybe you feel certain parts of your body, maybe you're a little bit tight or a little bit tensed or a little bit softer than you'd like. And without judgment or criticism, just notice how you feel externally and notice how you feel internally. So you notice your hearing, notice your feeling, notice what you're smelling, notice what smells are around. And maybe that smell is a nice candle that you've lit to help yourself create an atmosphere of calm, or maybe it's just the smell of the familiar space that you're in. And then notice what you see, and that might be the room that you're in with your eyes open, or if your eyes are closed, maybe you can see the thoughts that are going across your mind. Maybe you have a very visual imagination, or maybe you're picturing certain things that are going on or have gone on throughout your day. Just notice what you see, what your mind's eye sees. And even see if you can bring your awareness to your taste. What do you taste in your mouth? And just have a little bit of awareness and notice all of those sensations without any judgment, criticism, or agenda. Just notice them, take note of them. And we're going to come back to that sensational awareness as we move throughout the practice. And I'd like to ask you to try to keep some element of that awareness, of that physical presence, maybe even the awareness of your sight, sound, touch, as we move through our practice. Please start to bend your right knee and bring it toward your chest, and then straighten out your left leg. And hold your right knee in toward your chest ever so gently for a few breaths. And then take your right hand out to the side. And with your left hand, roll your body across to the left, just to get into a nice gentle twist. Just to begin with. It just sort of opens up the body, that sort of twisting at the beginning of a practice. I always feel like it's nice feeling like you're almost wringing out the body, getting it ready for absorbing some new tastes, experiences, feelings, sensations, just new movement, new bit of yourself. Like when you wring out a sponge, then it's ready to soak up some more. Roll onto your back. Hug both knees in toward your chest and take 2 breaths there. And then release your right leg along the length of your mat. Hold onto your leg with your right hand as your left hand will then start to drop down to the left, maybe out to a T or maybe even overhead. And then roll your leg across your body, come into a twist. Twisting your leg over toward the right side. Just notice how your body starts to gently settle into the shape the longer you stay in it. Just letting yourself ease into it. We're trying not to strain ourselves in these shapes at the beginning of practice, but allowing ourselves to just find a bit of ease to help, almost like we're warming up for the movement. We're setting ourselves up for our practice by practicing. And then roll back onto your back. Hug both knees in toward your chest. Then place your feet down onto the ground. Grip your toes into the mat. Grip both sides of your heels into the mat and then start to push down with both your feet as if you could put your feet through the mat. And then look straight up ahead of you. Bring your hands down by your sides and start to press your shoulder blades down as much as your feet push down, so you can slowly start to peel your spine, peel your hips up into a little bridged position. Nothing huge, just enough that you start to feel that strength in the back side of your body wake up. Notice how your bum feels. Notice how the back of your back feels, that muscle that sort of surrounds your spine. Just notice how it feels. Even touch yourself. Giving yourself that physical touch can help you be even that little bit more aware. Yeah, I can see some of your hands moving around, so I'm thinking that you're listening. Start to lower your hips back down onto the ground. And we're going to roll onto the right side of our body. Come onto your right side into the fetal position. And then prop yourself up onto your right forearm. And so as you're here on the right side, just take a few breaths and just feel that space down the right side of your ribs as it sort of droops and sinks toward the ground. You're also getting that bit of side flexion in the spine, so give yourself that space. Maybe even just breathe into the heaviness of those right ribs. And as you breathe into that space, maybe you start to feel a little bit more expansion. Maybe you feel it more in your armpit in this shape. And if this is a bit too intense, you can also take like a pillow or some blocks if you want and sort of hold yourself up a little bit with some props underneath your armpit. We're going to start working into a little bit of engagement in the muscles before we get too tense into the body. So start to reach your left leg straight out and let it hover above the ground. So your top leg reaching straight out and hovering up a little bit. And start to make some circles with that left leg. You can point your toe or flex your heel, whatever feels right for your body. Just make some circles, nice and controlled. And then see if you can bring your left hand to your left hip so you can feel that bony protrusion, that hip point at the front of your hip. And point it straight in front of you as if it's a laser that's trying to stay as horizontal as it can. Change the direction of your circles. And as you point that laser that's shooting out of your hip point horizontally, maybe you start to feel a little bit more engagement in the side of your bum. That's what we're going for. And then bring your left leg back down. Bend your left leg and put your left foot on the ground so your ankle's crossed over the thigh. So some of you have done this pose before as like a stretch, but it's just, the only difference is we're on our side. This shape, most people have done at some point. And then from here, start to remove any prop that might be under your armpit and lower yourself back down onto the side so your upper body's in the fetal position. Bring your left arm forward and start to make some big circles with your left arm. Big counterclockwise or anti-clockwise circles, as if the ceiling is the clock and your arm is the arm of the clock. Just big anti-clockwise circles. Going as slowly as you like. And the next time your hand is out behind you, you let yourself roll onto your back until you're in a twisted position. And your left ankle's crossed over your right thigh. Just take 3 breaths like this. So you're laid on your back with your upper body, and your legs are crossed at the ankle and thigh, twisted over to the right. Take 1 more long breath in. And as you exhale, tone your low belly and roll your legs back up until you're fully on your back again. And your legs still crossed, ankle over thigh. Take another breath in here. And as you exhale, bring your right thigh toward your hands and grab the back of your right thigh with your hands. Gently reach your left shin away from you, press it into your right thigh as you ever so gently pull your right thigh toward your chest with your hands. Place your right foot back down, uncross your left leg from your right leg, and then roll onto your left side into the fetal position. Maybe prop yourself up onto your elbow or onto a block of some sort to support your armpit. And just take a few breaths to breathe into those left ribs, to feel that heaviness down the left side. Start to feel that space opening up. Feel those ribs start to stretch apart a little bit. And then reach your right leg out, hover it above the ground. Bring your right hand to your right hip point. And like there's lasers shooting out of that hip point, point it as horizontally as you can. So as you do that, your thigh, your kneecap, and your toes will all point horizontally. Try to keep that horizontalness as you make circles with your leg. This may feel a little bit Jane Fonda for some of you, but, it works on getting that bum woken up. Woken up? I don't know how to speak anymore, apparently. Change the direction of your circles, please. Then stop the circles, bring your leg up, reach it forward, bend your knee, and place your right foot on the ground so your knee is pointing up. So your right ankle is crossed over the left thigh. And then remove any prop that you may have and lower yourself down onto your left side. And start to take your right arm, reach it forward in front of you, and make circles as if you're drawing clockwise circles on the ceiling with your right arm. Nice big circles, just getting that shoulder moving. It might feel a little bit grainy for some of you if you've not had much movement lately. Or if you've had a lot of movement lately. On your next big openness, roll yourself onto your back and come into a twisted position with your right ankle still crossed over your left thigh, but in a twist. Keep your shoulder blades on the mat. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, tone your low belly to roll your legs back up to straight until you're completely on your back. Right ankle's crossed over your left thigh. Inhale here, and as you exhale, bring your left thigh to your hands and grab the back of your left thigh with your hands. Gently press against your thigh with your right ankle and shin, and gently pull on your left thigh with your hands. Release your left leg back down to the ground. Uncross your right leg from your left. Grip your toenails, not your toenails, grip your toes into the mat. Grip your heels into the mat. Press down with your shoulder blades, and once again lift your hips up. Bridge your hips up. Reach your chest towards your chin, but keep your chin pulling away from your chest. And really press down as if you could dig your feet and your shoulder blades into the mat more. Like you're trying to dig them into the ground like foundations of a building. Slowly replace your spine back down onto the ground. And reach your legs straight up above you. With your legs straight up above you, either just squeeze your legs together like you're zippering them up, or if you have a block or a pillow, squeeze the block between your thighs. And then press your shoulders down, press your back ribs down, press your tailbone down into the mat. And then whatever you're squeezing, if it's just the air or if it's a prop, try to squeeze and push up without lifting your hips up. Imagine you could dig the tops of your thigh bones down into the mat more, like you're planting a stake into the ground. And as you do that, you're still trying to slide that block up like an elevator rising up. Hold that for one more breath. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and hug them in toward your chest. Take the prop out. Bring that block back between your thighs. Straighten your legs straight up above you. Squeeze the block. Push the heads of your thigh bones down. Push the backs of your ribs down. And then let that elevator block lift up. And maybe even reach your arms up and your shoulders up. So you start to feel that strength in your deep core, your deep abdominals, really waking up. With your shoulders lifted, you can even use your hands and touch your belly to see where it's tensing. And then lower your shoulders, bend your knees, place your feet back down, remove your block, and just sway your knees side to side. Just a few breaths of just windshield wipe the knees side to side. And then come on to one side, bring yourself around to a hands and knees position. From hands and knees, spread your fingers nice and wide. Tuck your toes under. And with your toes tucked under, just take 3 breaths of cat-cow. Round your spine as big as you can. Broaden your collarbones in your cow. And on your next cat, after the cat pose, lift your knees up, push your hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale to come forward to the top of a push-up. Place your knees down and exhale, lower yourselves to your bellies. Untuck your toes, press your toenails down into the mat, and inhale to lift up to a little cobra. Keep the back of your neck nice and long. Exhale to a child's pose. Inhale to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward to your right thumb. Lower your left knee down to the ground. Keep your toes tucked under, and then push down through both of your feet as you reach up with your arms. If you remember those lasers pointing out of your hip points, try to point them horizontal and maybe even slightly up a little bit. Keep your feet pushing down as much as you can, and then squeeze your inner thighs a little bit more toward each other. Take one more breath in here, and then exhale your hands down around your front foot. Come up to tented fingertips or place your hands onto blocks. And then pull your right hip back to straighten your right leg as much as you can. Take 2 breaths here. Try to stick your bum out as you're doing this. And as you try to stick your bum out in this half split pose, see if you can reach your breastplate toward your big toe more. So it's almost as if you're trying to do a back bend in this pose. It's unlikely that you will, but some people can. Come forward, place your foot back down onto the ground. Place your hands back down and step back to a downward facing dog. As you inhale, lift your heels up, shift your shoulders forward, and as you exhale, bend your knees and lower them down, but don't let them touch the ground. So keep your knees hovering. Yeah. And then try to point your armpits toward each other. And hold for one more breath. Exhale back to a downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward to your left thumb. Place your right knee down. Keep your right toes tucked under. And then lift your arms forward and up. Point your laser beams forward and up as you push your feet down and squeeze your thighs together. Take one more breath in here. And exhale your hands down around your front foot. Hands onto blocks if you'd like them, or tent your fingertips, come just up to the fingertips, and then pull your left hip back, stick your bum out, and reach your chest towards your big toe. Come forward on your next inhale, place your hands down onto the ground, and exhale back to a downward facing dog. On your inhale, lift your heels, shift your shoulders forward toward your wrists, and exhale, bend your knees, but let them hover, don't touch the ground. Point your armpits toward each other, and then pull your low ribs in as if you're tying them up, cinching them up like a girdle. Take one more breath in, and then exhale back to a downward facing dog. Place your knees down onto the ground. Come back into hands and knees. And then we're going to come into a side plank with one knee down. So bring your, what's the easiest way to do this? Straighten your right leg out, tuck the toes under, so it's like the right side of your body's in a plank. And then bring your left shin off the mat to the left. Bring your right heel down so you can lean into your left hand and your left knee, and then reach your right hand up. Yeah. Good. Now either stay here just like this in this kneeling side plank, or reach your right leg up and start to make some circles with that right leg, like we did on our side from the fetal position, but now there's a bit more of a balance element to it. Keep that laser beam pointing horizontal. So change the direction of your circles. Come back to steady. Bend your right knee. Reach back with your right hand and grab your ankle with your right hand. And either just stay like this or start to kick your ankle into your hand, hand into ankle, and then pull your low ribs in. Pull your laser beams to reach them toward each other, as if you're trying to pull your hip points closer together. Slowly release your right foot, and then place your right side back down. Come back into hands and knees. Good. I'm going to turn around so you can still see me all right on the other side. Reach your left leg back, tuck the toes under. Bring your right shin off to the right. And then lower your left heel down, reach your left hand up. Kneeling side plank. Good. Remember those laser beams in front of your hip points. Point them horizontal. And then lift your left leg up. Maybe even start the circles with that left lifted leg. Try to engage your pelvic floor a little bit more if you're feeling wobbly. Change the direction of your circles. Keep your left leg lifted, stop the circles, then bend your left knee. Reach back with your left hand and grab a hold of the ankle, and just hold on to that ankle. And that might be enough for you. You might be feeling that nice big stretch there. Or start to kick your foot into your hand as your hand pulls your foot. And then see if you can reach your hip points toward each other, as if you're pulling them together until you feel more toning in the low belly. And that can really help with that stability and keeping your low back a bit more spacious. Slowly release your foot from your hand, and then come back to hands and knees. Good. From hands and knees, tuck your toes under, downward facing dog. Inhale forward to the top of a push-up. Place your knees down and exhale down to your belly. Untuck your toes. Take an inhale to a cobra pose, nice and gentle and low. Exhale to a child's pose. Inhale up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your heels as you inhale. Shift your shoulders forward and exhale to lower your knees toward the ground but not touching. Point your armpits toward each other. And then place your knees down. I'm going to ask you to grab blocks if you have them, if you'd like to use them for the next pose. While you're getting them, I'll just show you. So what we're going to do is go from down dog to a crescent lunge. But then from the crescent lunge, we're going to be doing a lot more engagement in the legs. And so having the blocks under your arms, so your arms can be a bit longer, helps allow you to get a little bit more engagement in the core, to sort of keep that strength. Because I've got short arms, I've got short everything. So if my hands are on the ground, I sort of lean on my legs and I can't access as much. So by using the blocks, it actually creates a little bit more strength, a little more space. If you don't have blocks, you could use like soup cans or books. Or if you're feeling super strong, then just hands on your hips. So from down dog. And so everybody come into a down dog when you're ready. With your blocks or whatever you're using ready, step your right foot forward to your right thumb. Keep your left knee lifted. And with your back foot, press into your back toes until it feels like your heel is directly on top of the toe, like directly above the toes. Yeah, and maybe place blocks under your hands if you'd like to. Now with the blocks under your hands, or if your hands are long enough to touch the ground, you can even come into fingertips. Pull your low belly up, pull your low ribs up. So you get that same strength feeling like we did when we did that core exercise on our backs at the very beginning of class. So keep that strength feeling in your core, like when you were squeezing that block between your legs, and then start to push your feet down as if the floor is resisting you. Push your feet down against the floor, and then try to squeeze your inner thighs together like we did when we were squeezing that block between our legs on our backs. And then if you'd like to add a little bit more spice to this, reach your arms forward. And hold for 2 breaths. One more breath. And then lift your chest all the way up. Nice big crescent lunge. Take a deep breath in here. Exhale, maybe lower your hips a little more. Take one more inhale. And then exhale your hands back down to the blocks. Remove the blocks off to the side. Step back to a downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward to your left thumb. Hands onto the blocks if you'd like to use them. Press into your right toes so your heel is over your toes. So if you're pushing, like you're trying to point your toes more. And it might shift your body forward. And then push down with your feet as you start to pull up with your ribs. Push down with your feet as if you're pushing the floor away from you, and then engage your low belly and your low ribs, like when we were holding that block between our thighs on our backs. Squeeze your legs toward each other and keep pushing the floor down, and then maybe reach your arms forward and up, like you're trying to fly forward. Keep squeezing your legs toward each other and pushing the floor down. Push the floor away from you with your feet. And then pull your low belly and your low ribs up away from that front thigh. On your next inhale, lift your chest upright, coming into a crescent lunge. Yeah. And as you exhale, maybe lower your pelvis a little more. Bend into that front knee a little more. Take another breath in here. Exhale your hands down around that front foot onto the blocks. Move your blocks out to the side. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward to the top of a push-up. Place your knees down and exhale down to your belly. Untuck your toes. Inhale to a cobra. Exhale to a child's pose. Inhale up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward to your right thumb. Place your hands onto the blocks once again. Press into your back toes. Push down with your feet. But then this time, start to shift your weight forward more. Slide your back foot forward a little bit so you can really put most of your weight into that front foot. Now with your front right foot being really strong, squeeze your inner thighs together, squeeze your bum muscles, and start to lift your left heel up off the ground. And then start to straighten your arms and push the floor away from you with your front foot. Grip down through all the toes of your standing leg, through both sides of the heel of your standing leg, and then squeeze your inner thighs together like when you were holding that block between your legs. Push the heel of your lifted leg up a little more and squeeze your bum. And now maybe if you're feeling strong, reach your arms forward. Ooh, I'm wobbly. Reach your arms forward and up, warrior 3. Take another long breath in here. completely. And then slowly start to bend your front knee, whether your hands are on the block or not, and step your left foot back and down at an angle. So your left foot is at a 45-degree angle. Reach your arms up for a warrior one. Good. Take a deep breath in here. And then exhale all the way back to a downward facing dog. Bring your left foot forward to your left thumb. Bring your hands to the blocks. And you don't need to use blocks if you feel very strong in this pose. Push down with your feet. Squeeze your inner thighs together. And then start to lean forward more into your blocks, more into your left foot. You might roll onto just the big toe of your back foot, and then start to slide your back foot in so it can be very light and you feel stronger and more balanced into your hands and left foot. And then really push the floor away from you with your left foot. As you start to straighten your left leg, lift your right heel up. Keep your inner thighs squeezing together. Keep your low belly and low ribs engaged, like when we did those core exercises at the beginning of class. And then maybe reach your arms forward and up for warrior three. Another long breath in here. Exhale completely. Start to bend your left knee and step your right foot back at the back of your mat. Place your whole foot down at a 45-degree angle and lift your arms up. Warrior one. Big inhale here. Nice work, everybody. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your heels. Gently place your knees down onto the ground. Take 3 breaths of cat-cow. And then sit back on your heels for a moment just so you can grab your cushions. So we're going to come into a pigeon pose with supports, or swan pose, some people call it, if you're feeling a bit yinny. So for this pose, we're going to start with the right foot forward. We're going to bring the right foot, so I have one cushion. If you don't have 2 pillows, you don't necessarily need them. You can choose what one feels best for you. But I'm going to place one cushion horizontally across my mat, and then bring my right leg forward in front of it for pigeon, so that my pelvis is supported by that pillow. And then I'm going to take my other pillow and fold it in front of me so that my chest is supported by the other pillow. Some of you may want to not use any pillows and really let yourself sink deeply into this pose, and that's fine. Just take whichever variation you'd like, but I quite like the supports of these cushions underneath me. And you could also even move this pose to your bed if you'd like to, because then you have the softness of your mattress underneath you, rather than the firmness of the mat. So bring your right leg forward so your right knee stays on the right side of your mat, and your right shin goes at an angle toward the left side of your mat. So the foot of your right leg is on the left, roughly under the left hip, give or take. And the goal is to just feel the support of whatever's underneath you, and the space opening up into that outer right hip in particular, but you may feel it in a few other places. But the prime spot is that outer right hip, your outer right bum. And just let yourself just take a few breaths here. Take some nice long, deep, cozy breaths and settle into that shape. 2 more breaths here. Start to place your hands underneath you to press yourself up nice and gently and slowly. The longer you're in the pose, the more time I recommend to take coming out of the pose, because it's just a little bit harder to move your body from it getting that settled state in the shape that it's in. So slowly ease yourself back to either down dog or hands and knees. Maybe take a couple breaths of cat-cow or a little gentle down dog, just to counter that shape. Whatever feels right in your body. And then when you're ready, bring your left foot forward, and then maybe walk or slide your left foot toward the right side of your mat, and lower your left knee to the left side of your mat. And then once your left shin is down, walk your right leg back so it's straight back behind you, but reaching back a little bit further. Let your pelvis rest upon the cushions or rolled up blanket, whatever you're using, or just let it be on the ground if that's what feels right. And then take any other support you may want for underneath your chest and start to lower your chest down onto the cushion, the ground, whatever feels good in your body. And you may find that as we're here for a few more breaths, you might want to add a little bit more blanket or support or pillows, or take some away. This isn't exactly a yin practice, but the extra time in the pose that we're giving ourselves is conducive to that settling in sort of experience that is a little bit more yin-y. So really listening to your body to where you need to find that edge to keep that sensation and that feeling going. Just take those cues and listen to yourself. Slowly start to press your arms to the ground and very gently lift yourself up. And step yourself back towards hands and knees or a downward facing dog. Maybe take a couple breaths in your down dog. Maybe even take a vinyasa flow, or just move through some gentle cat-cows from the hands and knees position. And then when you're ready, bring your legs around in front of you. Come into a seated position. And if you have a cushion or a folded up blanket or towel to sit on, please take that seat. And then we're going to come into cow face legs with a forward fold. So where the pigeon gets into the outer hip with the leg externally rotated and abducted, the cow face brings in an abduction of the same shape, basically. So it gets into a different part of the hip. So with your left leg extended, bend your right knee and cross it over your right thigh. And then take your right ankle with your left hand and try to bring your right ankle toward your left hip. So your knee starts to come down. And you can stop there with the left leg extended, Or if you feel like you've got the space, then lean a little bit to the left and bring your left heel toward your right hip. And you may find that this is a bit too much, so you can also take a pillow between the knees, and that can bring a little bit more support into that. And if you'd like to take a cushion to just sort of hug as you fold forward, then that gives a nice sort of pressure into the belly. I quite like that feeling. And then let yourself just fold forward over this. Let your head be heavy. Let your arms just rest where it feels natural, either hugging yourself or just down to the ground. And just close your eyes and gaze inward. And notice what you're feeling, where you're feeling. Just have that awareness of your sensations and your experience. Two more breaths here. Start to slowly press yourself back upright. Remove your cushion. And just take a deep breath in, reach your arms up. And as you exhale, arch over to the right. And then inhale back up through center. And exhale to arch over to the left. Inhale back up through center and place both hands down. And use your hands to just help yourself unravel your legs. Lean back into your hands and just swish your knees a little bit side to side with, say, 2 breaths. And then extend your legs out in front of you once again. Bend your left knee. Cross it over your right thigh. Then start to bring your left ankle toward your right hip. And you can stop with just the half cow face legs or lean to your right and bring your right ankle to your left hip. Maybe place a pillow between your knees or your thighs if you feel like you might need that. Then take a cushion if you'd like to hug a cushion. And sort of sit yourself up nice and tall. I like to create that feeling of like, almost like I'm picking my belly up and putting it over the cushion. And then fold forward. Let your hands rest where they feel comfortable too. Let your head become heavy. And close your eyes. Come back to that soft awareness of your experience. That attention to the sensations. To really allow yourself to just be with yourself. Start to walk your hands back. Gently lift yourself upright. Remove your cushion. And take a deep breath in. Reach your arms up. And exhale your right hand down to the right. Arch your left hand overhead. Nice and slow, controlled movements. Inhale back up through center. Exhale your left hand down. Arch your right hand overhead. Inhale back up through center. And exhale your arms down. Unravel your legs with your hands. Help if you need to. Place your hands back behind you and just sway your knees side to side. And come back to center. Come off of your block if you're sat on one. And maybe take a cushion for under your knees or under your low back. Maybe take a cushion for under your upper back. And then lie yourself back onto your back. Let your arms come by your sides, but slightly away from your body, or just rest your hands on your belly and your chest if that feels right for you. And let yourself close your eyes, slow your breath, and start to come back to that awareness of what you're experiencing. Without judgment or criticism, just notice the difference of how you feel now and what you feel now to what it was at the beginning of practice. What do you hear? What do you feel inwardly? What do you feel outwardly? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you see? Maybe visibly or maybe in your mind's eye. begin to deepen and lengthen. Start to feel your breath moving around your body. And feel that breath creating some sensation, maybe physical movements, or maybe just the energy you can feel tingling or rushing around you, to create a shift toward a bit more awareness, a bit more yang. Maybe gently rock your head side to side, or maybe just feel yourself start to be a little bit more aware, a little bit more awake. And start to take a deep breath in and stretch yourself nice and long. And exhale out your mouth. Take another long breath in through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Bend your knees one at a time, placing your feet on the ground. And gently roll yourself onto your right into the fetal position. Use your top hand and help press yourself up to a comfortable seat. And as you arrive, just take a few breaths to let yourself feel that grounding down through your hips, through your legs. And that gentle rising up through the crown of your head. And take a long breath in through your nose. Lengthen your belly, your ribs, your chest, your spine. And exhale out your mouth. Slowly bring your hands up to your heart or into prayer position. And lift your chest up with another inhale. And as you exhale, soften yourself downward, gaze down, or close your eyes downward. And take a moment to be grateful for the time we have to practice, the space and the physical and energetic health we have to practice, and the ability to keep our community strong together, to practice with each other. Thank you all for your time and your attention. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you, everybody.